Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president crowd. He was bleeding from the ear. We knew that at the time. At the moment this was written, we knew that. Trump reached for his ear when the noises happened. New York Times, Trump rally shooting investigated as assassination attempt. Then the Washington Post, Trump rally shooting investigated as assassination attempt. Finally getting to that truth. President Trump himself wrote, "Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of citizens so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we must stand united as our true character of Americans, as Americans, remaining strong and determined, yet not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country. I love you all and look forward to speaking at our great nation this week from Wisconsin." It's a great statement. If you're looking at the video service, this is a shot of how close that bullet came. You can actually see the streak of the bullet whizzing past the president. And of course, the iconic image of the president with his arm raised and I think adrenaline just shoving through his veins. You can also notice something else, though, if you're looking at the video service. That woman has no business guarding that man, period. Now, you could say that she's tougher and stronger than me, and maybe you're right. Probably are. But she is not big enough to block his body mass. This is the way some of these agents are selected, for body mass. The Secret Service has a ton of questions, and the woman who runs it, thank God, has had brave enough to stand up and say, I take responsibility. That's a rare thing, but not everybody was willing to do that.
Sounds like law enforcement only knew he was up there until shots were fired. Is that what you're hearing?
So that is the assessment at this time.
So are you surprised that a sniper was able to fire off a handful of shots at the former president? I mean,
again, we're still working through the security apparatus that the Secret Service had in place, what potentially happened. There's going to be a long investigation into exactly what took place and how the individual was able to get access to the location, what type of weapon he had. All that it is really days, weeks, and months of investigation.
He was able to get off like 4 or 5 shots.
It is surprising, but again, to get all the details of that will come out later in investigation.
Going back to the perimeter of this building, I do think it's really difficult for people to understand that this building, with a very high vantage point, some 100 meters away from where this is happening, isn't part of that perimeter. What goes into that conversation over what is in and out, and why wouldn't that be?
Again, the Secret Service really needs to answer that question. They conduct the initial site survey. They do the initial security assessments and determine where the different security locations should be, and they're the ones who are in charge of securing the scene. We, along with other state and local assets, are there to support the Secret Service and their mission.
In a matter of days, they began to track the cell phones of people who walked into the Capitol and took selfies, including a 72-year-old grandma, a 77-year-old man from Harlem who didn't even go into the building, but he got frog-marched out of his apartment. They triangulated their cell phones, figured out who they were, went and got them, and they're still arresting them. But it's going to be days, weeks, months as they figure out what happened in this attempt to assassinate President Trump one day before the RNC convention, the last day to not have him as the nominee. They somehow missed a 20-year-old guy walking into that area carrying a rifle, unless it was already up there or hidden, in which case they didn't do a perimeter search of the most important vantage point in that grid. Anybody, as we heard yesterday from Mike, who goes and does counter sniper work, is going to create a grid system, and every square in the grid will have someone covering it. Was it surprising he got off 8 shots? Well, yeah. The sniper who took him out was accurate. Thank God he got on it. But yes, it is surprising. It's surprising that he was up there and that he got the rifle up there and that the SWAT team was below him and that they didn't see this coming in an area like that with threats like this, with a president who's been betrayed and portrayed by the media as literal Hitler. This is Newsweek, and how Newsweek responded with the president's picture with his fist in the air. They write, "Mega responds with outrage after Donald Trump injured at a Pennsylvania rally." There were people who formed their first impression of what happened that day with that image. Oh, he was injured, and Mega responded with outrage. Mega responded with a lot of things. Some of it was outrage. Some of it was weeping for our nation. Some of it was a series of questions of how on earth did you let this happen? Those questions are going to persist. And there aren't going to be good answers because we can look into what the priorities were of the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle. This Newsweek image shows that small female agent nowhere near large enough to block the president's body, which is unfortunately their job. She can't do that job. She is not big enough and cannot become large enough to do that job. Here's some of what's been going on with the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle. This from CBS News.
To expand hiring, they're aiming to have 30% women recruits by 2030 and even allowed YouTube influencer Michelle Carre to train with agents.
But I'm very conscious as I sit in this chair now of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
That workforce will be pivotal for the 2024 campaign season, which for the first time includes a former president who already has lifetime protection. Agents were there when Donald Trump was arraigned in New York.
We were able to work out the details ahead of time of how that particular day was going to go, but we will always ensure the safety of all of our protectees that we have.
The service has a zero-fail mission, a mission officers are training to uphold, pretending this field is the most famous address in America.
The field, of course, is a replica of the White House, the lawn thereof. Female agents cannot become large enough to fully cover the body of a man like Donald Trump. And no, diversity in the area of the Secret Service does not matter at all. The only thing that matters in something in a protective detail is, can you shoot, run, lift, and fight? Can you do it well? Can you do it on a second's notice? And will you put yourself between the principal and a bullet? Will you do that? Those are the only things that matter. Diversity is a nice have. Diversity of thought, diversity of view, diversity of whatever, but not diversity of body size. That does not matter. The one body size that matters is the body size is sufficient to cover the principal. That's it.